Hello, students, and thank you for selecting this next Career Day interview. I am excited to welcome a coworker of mine, Emily Karam, who is here today to talk to all of us about her career as a teacher, and specifically a special education teacher. So, Emily, if you could please elaborate and let us know what steps you had to take to get to where you are now in your career.
Absolutely. So I started my college career at the College of St. Rose. I started off with a program that was a dual major in elementary and special education. So that was what I did for my bachelor's degree, which is a full 4 years. That included a bunch of field hours in several different grade levels and several different settings. And that included a student teaching experience, which also was field experience, 7 weeks in 2 different settings in 2 different grade levels. So that was my bachelor's degree that took 4 years. I then went right on to my master's degree, also at the College of St. Rose, where I majored in high school special education. So although I went right into my master's, you can begin teaching with just a bachelor's degree and then earn your master's degree while you are teaching. In addition to my college coursework, I also had to take several certification exams. I have 3 different certifications now, so I have had taken several certification exams throughout my college experience. I graduated from my master's degree in August, and I started teaching here in Greenville in September. So leaving my master's degree program, I started my career here, and I've been here ever since.
That's a quick turnaround. That must have been so exciting for you. That's really
Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Could you walk us through a typical day in your field of work? I mean, kids see teachers all the time, but sometimes they may not know exactly what we do from day to day. So if you could walk us through what your day might look like.
Absolutely. So as a high school special education teacher, your job can look differently. So my job specifically is to have a resource room, which is a small group setting of students, and pushing into general education classes such as English and math. Sometimes positions can look a little bit differently. You can have a self-contained classroom, so you would be teaching several classes throughout the day with the same or similar groups of students. I see my students once a day in my classroom, and then sometimes in their general education classes as well. So I have a typical 9-period schedule, like other teachers, but I still see groups of students just in a smaller setting. Something that might be a little bit different for me is a lot of my day is communicating with a lot of other teachers. So I am emailing and calling and pre-COVID stopping by and communicating with teachers pretty frequently. In addition to communicating with students and teachers, I'm also in contact with parents and families a lot as well. So my day includes teaching, but also a lot of communicating and engaging with my coworkers and families.
Thank you. So what would you say you love most about your job?
Definitely working with my students, of course, and just watching them grow, watching them work through challenges and overcome them, and being just a support system for them as they do that. Specifically being a high school teacher, I also love seeing what my students do after high school. It's really cool to see kind of that quick turnaround from them being in school to being adults. As you know, an elementary school teacher, there's quite a long bit of time before they actually leave the school setting. But for me, especially working 11th grade, there's a really quick turnaround, and I love seeing what they do out in the world.
Yeah, that can be really rewarding for sure.
Absolutely.
So some students may select this video because they themselves are thinking about becoming a teacher. And I'm wondering if you could elaborate on some of the skills that you feel are really most important to be successful in this career. And while some of those skills might be trainable, others might be soft skills. So if you could just tell us a little bit about both kinds of skills that might be necessary to be an effective teacher.
Absolutely. So I talked a little bit earlier about communicating. So that's informally with my students, with my coworkers, but also formal communication and formal writing. I do write IEPs, which are individual education plans. So that's a formal document. So there's casual emails and writing, legal documents. So communicating effectively is a big one, verbally and written. Time management as well. I'm balancing teaching, but then also all of those other pieces outside of teaching, like writing the documents, communicating with families. I think another big one in being a teacher is you have a lot of autonomy. You're in your classroom and kind of running the show. So you have to be able to hold yourself accountable and be able to kind of work through the day without necessarily having someone assign you a project or, a certain deadline for something. You are working through your day and really need to hold yourself accountable. Trying to think of other things. As just a teacher, of course, patience and compassion. So that's the piece of working with students, being able to have compassion for them and just being able to be patient and flexible.
Yeah, I feel like you hit the nail on the head with all of those pieces and all of those skills. It really takes a certain kind of person to become a teacher, because a lot of the other stuff that we are trained to do changes from year to year, and we have to keep up with the time. So having that basis of compassion and patience and flexibility is probably so important.
Absolutely.
So what would you say are some challenges that you face in your career?
You definitely just touched on them. I think there's always something new. There's new students, new standards, new curriculum, new technology. So it's a fun challenge. It is, because each year things are changing, and you have all new challenges. So teachers are definitely always learning. So that is a challenge, but it is a fun challenge each year.
Thank you. So what would you say your work environment is like? And I know that question might seem silly because a lot of the kids are in school in our environment, but as an employee here, what's your work environment like?
Sure. So obviously, we're in a school setting, and I would say a high school setting is a little bit different maybe than an elementary school setting, because that in elementary school you stay in the same place all day. My setting changes. I'm in my classroom. I'm pushing into other classrooms. So it does change from classroom to classroom, and the schedule of the day is a little bit different. We're following a bell schedule instead of maybe in a elementary classroom, you would be kind of setting your own pace for the day. And I think a lot of my day is working with my coworkers, with the coworkers I share my room with coworkers I co-teach with. So I definitely am moving, I guess, throughout the building quite a bit, not necessarily staying in my classroom teaching the same group of students all day.
Thank you. So what are some salary ranges in this field? And understandably, that could vary, but if you could touch on salary ranges and opportunities for advancement, whether they exist in either salary or position as a teacher.
So the salary for teachers varies per district. Each district has their own starting salaries. I would say in New York, you're probably starting in maybe the high 30,000 into the mid 40, like 45-ish thousand dollars is typically a good starting point. However, each year, as you gain experience, as you further your education, your salary does increase. Some teachers can be making, at the end of their career, they can be making $100,000. So just as you gain your years of experience and further your education, your salary does increase in like a steady progression, I would say. In terms of like advancements beyond teaching, of course, there are administrative positions. A lot of time teachers will go back to college to earn a degree in administration. But if you want to remain in your teaching position, you can further your education through professional development, additional coursework, and those are things that can kind of bump you up in terms of salary.
Thank you. And a final question for you is I'm wondering, when you were in middle school or high school, were there any classes you took or activities that you were involved in that you feel contribute to your career now?
Absolutely. I took psychology and sociology. I also took sign language when I was in high school. But I think the thing that had the biggest impact on me was just volunteering. I volunteered after school with working with children. I volunteered in the summer working with children, really getting into a school setting. So I felt really confident when I was going to college that I've had some of these experiences and this is something I really want to do. So I think experiencing all of those things in high school really made me feel confident moving forward, and also was beneficial for me when I was in college and had some of that prior knowledge and experience. I do think here at Greenville, if I was a student, I definitely would have taken child development. That would have been something that was on my list too. But I did, take some other courses trying to prepare myself for this career.
Thank you. I think that that's great advice. And I hope that students will hear this and decide what opportunities exist that really are a good fit for them in their future goals. Thank you so much for volunteering your time. And I'm going to put your name out there, kids. She is right here in our school. So if you have more questions, you can follow up with Ms. Karam, or I'm sure any of your other teachers would be happy to share their experience. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome.